Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV back with another Market Watch episode. Today, of course, we have several different cards that have seen buyouts and price spikes over the last little while that we're going to take a look at. I'm going to wait a week or two before we look at anything from King's Court directly. The set has literally been only out for a day or so I think it's too early to analyze prices this early on. We're almost always better off anyways waiting until prices cool off before buying the singles. Instead, we're primarily going to look at cards that have seen an increase in play within the meta and as a result have spiked in price, as the format is still very young and is constantly evolving. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so it wouldn't be a Market Watch after the July 2021 ban list without talking about at least one Sky Striker related card. Now, one card that I've noticed trending upwards is Mystic Mine, which is one of the most polarizing cards in the game. Some people love that it's in the format, other people hate it. I personally wish the card were banned, but it has managed to survive for quite a while without getting hit. Anyways, we all know what Mystic Mine is. It's particularly devastating in the Sky Striker deck, which is able to freeze the opponent's board and then poke their life points down with Hayate. I feel like Mystic Mine is almost like another win condition for strikers in the right matchups. Anyways, with Sky Striker so popular right now, Mystic Mine has trended upwards in price as well, where we're now seeing the original super rares at $12 each and the secret rare reprints from the Megatins at $15. I believe that in a lot of Sky Striker builds, people are playing just one copy. I do think there are a bit more people playing Cosmic Cyclone because Sky Striker is in the format once again, so people are just kind of adapting their decks and techs to the format. Personally, I would assume Mystic Mine should be reprinted sometime in 2021 with all the reprint sets that we have coming up, though I would rather see the thing banned completely. I think that for right now, it's a good card to hold on to your set of because it's a card that can be teched into different decks and then just win you the game outright. But I probably wouldn't want to hold onto too many copies of the card because it only has 2 versions out and there are a ton of different reprint sets coming out later this year. Next up, there is one other Sky Striker related card to look at briefly here. We have Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior. Interestingly enough, this card is basically an extra deck staple for the Sky Striker deck because I believe it is the deck's only out to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This card lets you send a card from each player's field to the graveyard without targeting them, so I guess situationally it could be useful spot removal. However, more often than not, rather than this card, you're going to be going into Selene so that you can make access code. But Ningirsu is still really important because of Dragoon. Now, this card has 2 secret rare printings out right now. The original secret rares from Code of the Duelist, which are about $8, and the Megatin reprints, which are $6 each. The reason this card hasn't spiked so hard in price is because it is just a one of, and it's really only played in Sky Strikers, or I guess like World Chalice if you're trying to make that deck work. It doesn't see play in other strategies, so because of that limited demand, its price is fairly reasonable. Definitely a card you want to own just the one copy of, but because of its limited usefulness and applications, it's something that you wouldn't want to go out of your way to invest in multiple copies of or anything. Okay, so on to something non-striker related. Next up we have Cynet Mining. Now, Cynet Mining was a really expensive card before, being useful for Salamangreats and Marincess. However, the card saw 2 reprints in Dual Overload and the 2020 Megatins, and so with 2 reprints that came out fairly close together, the card was quite cheap, down at only a few dollars. Now, however, after a little bit of time has passed, we've seen Cynet Mining trend back upwards. We have 2 fairly popular Cybers decks in the current format, Salamangreats and the At-Ignister, both of which run 3 copies of Cynet Mining, so this card is literally like a generic searcher for either of those strategies, though of course it does hurt when this card gets hit by Ash Blossom. Right now, the original secret rares are pretty high. First eds are up at $25 and the unlimiteds are around $15. However, even with the lower rarity versions, the ultras and super rare reprints, each of those is about $7 to $8 right now, which is double what they were a few months ago. Now, I would assume that Cynet Mining will get another reprint in the near future because doing so would help Konami to push the At-Ignister deck, which should see a lot of cards reprinted in the 2021 Megatins, and making the entire deck a little bit more affordable would help to push the sale of multiple products. I feel like this is the type of card that actually would get a common reprint in a structure deck just because it is one of those more generic search cards, or realistically, I think it will be a rare in Maximum Gold Eldorado. Either way, expect the holo versions to hold a little bit more in terms of value, especially the secret rares as the original print that is also the highest rarity. If you're trying to pick up a set of this card for yourself to play At-Ignister or Salamangreat with, I would personally hold off and try to pay only around $4 to $5 a copy, which is where I think the holo versions should settle at, even if they were to see a lower rarity reprint. This is a card that we have definitely talked about multiple times on Market Watch before. It is Rescue Cat. Now at the moment, Tri-Brigade is still a pretty scary deck. The deck has some really cool combos. Revolt is a pretty scary card when it does go off. However, Drident was just banned, and with so many people playing Zoodiac with their Tri-Brigades last format, people are now trying to make up those main deck slots with other techs. Now in some cases it's hand traps, but one card that I have seen pop up to add consistency to a lot of Tri-Brigade decks is Rescue Cat. It is a beast monster that you can tribute from your field to summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters from your deck with their effects negated, but they are destroyed during the end phase. Now this card is cool because you get to summon both Kit and Karis, which not only loads up your graveyard and allows you to link with them, but it also allows you to trigger Kit's effect when you link with it. So Rescue Cat actually does have a ton of different printings, but all of them are quite old and so they're quite expensive. The Turbo Pack Supers, which are obviously the highest rarity, are insane at $90 each, but I think they have been there for quite some time. The Duelist Saga Ultra Rares are a little bit more reasonable as the more affordable holo version, but are still $25 each. And then the rest are all common and rare prints from various sets, but they are all old and are probably mostly damaged if you're finding them at your locals. Those copies are going to range anywhere from $10 to $15 for a near mint version. Now, I'm like 99% sure that what happened was Konami was going to reprint this card for us in King's Court, but accidentally reprinted Rescue Rabbit instead, and we're now going to have to wait a few more months for a card that should have been reprinted like half a year ago. We should note that Tri-Brigades are also due to be reprinted in the 2021 Megatins, so much like what I said about Cynet Mining, right? I think it's reasonable to expect this card to be reprinted in a set that comes out at around the same time to help encourage people to build decks out of those sets. This should bring the prices of all the different common versions way down, though of course the Turbo Pack Supers probably aren't dropping anytime soon. This is definitely another card that we looked at before, though I think that it was like more than half a year ago. When we last looked at Downerd Magician, it was when absolutely everyone was trying to throw Zeus into things and playing it. Downerd Magician is of course important because it allows you to get that extra material underneath Zeus. If you have 2 materials to make a lower rank monster, then put Downerd on top and then go into Zeus, you now have 4 materials under Zeus and can use its effect twice right off the bat. Anyways, we did see Downerd Magician trend upwards in price before, but for a while it seemed like the card had kind of cooled off. I think last month you could pick up a copy of this card for down at around $10 to $12. Now, however, we have seen another wave of buyouts for Downerd Magician. I believe the primary reason is because of Drytron, which can make Lyrilusc Assembled Nightingale for easy access to Zeus. This is something that was known and used before when Drytrons were really big. I guess it kind of fell off when Carrier and Benton were hit, but now that a lot of people are on Drytron again, it is picking back up in popularity. Of course, there are also decks that can make rank 3s out there, like maybe Virtual World or Burning Abyss Phantom Knights, that are also contributing to this card's increased demand. Anyways, the original Secret Rares from Legacy of the Valiant are crazy expensive, up at $35 each right now. It does have 2 other reprints, the Megatin Secret Rares and a Gold Rare version, though each of those are like $25 right now, which is honestly pretty crazy. I remember selling mine at $12 to $15 when they were about $18 to $20, and I thought I was making the right call. I guess obviously I didn't think we'd be stuck without this card getting reprinted for just so long. In theory, this card's reprint is long overdue, and we should see it in some sort of set this fall. Hold on to 1 copy of the card for yourself if you want to use it, but definitely consider offloading your extra copies while they're hyped up and with that reprint coming sometime soon. So this is an interesting tech I think people haven't actually played for a while. It is Shared Ride. I remember at various points in Yu-Gi-Oh history, people have jumped on Shared Ride as a side deck tech, basically because it's like a max C for searching, though unfortunately it is a quick play spell card, so it's really only useful if you get to go first. However, searching is such an integral part of the way that Yu-Gi-Oh is played now, I guess it does make sense that this card would pop up every now and then. Anyways, we are seeing Shared Ride pop up once again, which is interesting because it does have applications against most of the meta decks right now. I guess the card is okay against Striker because they do have Engage. Tri-Brigade search with Tanky and Nerval. Drytron searches with Benton and Preparation of Rites, and then Salamangreat uses Signet Mining and Balinks. There are, of course, other searches in those decks. Those are just some of the examples that came to mind. It's just the 2 secret rare versions of this card that have jumped up in price considerably. We have the original secret rares from Legacy of the Valiant, which are all the way up at $25 each, and then the Megaton reprints, which are much more reasonable at around $10. Now, aside from these 2 versions, the card does have a gold rare, common, and rare version available. So if you're just looking for a copy of the card to be able to use it and play with it, you should still be able to pick up the card for only 25 cents or something like that. Maybe if this card does see more play, it'll get a collector's rare reprint or something like that, since Konami seems to be giving bumps to absolutely everything nowadays. For now though, if you're desperate to bling out your deck, consider the reprint secret rares, which look really similar, but literally cost less than half the price of the originals. Okay guys, last card we're talking about today isn't actually a meta relevant one, but I noticed it while I was filming actually. We're looking at Boxia Brightness of the Yang Zing. Now this card is actually really cool. I personally love the Yang Zings and their artwork. This is a synchro monster that requires the non-tuner monster to be Wyrms. When it is synchro summoned, you get to target and shuffle back to the deck cards equal to the number of different original attributes of Wyrms that you use to make this card. Then its other effect is that you can target a card you control and a level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard. You pop your monster on the field, then you get to summon back the monster out of your graveyard. Obviously this is a Yang Zing card, but actually we just had revealed to us a new archetype coming out in Burst of Destiny called, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but the Zhangjian, I think. Interestingly enough, this is another Wyrm-based archetype that plays monsters of different attributes, so there's a lot of potential for the Yang Zing monsters, or at least Boxia itself, to be played alongside the new cards. Now, almost immediately we did see a buyout of Ultimate Rare Boxia. Right now, the cheapest Ultimate Rare on TCG Player is $60, though when we take a look at the actual sold listings, we see the highest sold as being $40. So somewhere between that range is what we could say is the market price. Obviously, this is really early, right? So a buyout like this is to be expected. We should see the price come back down to around $30 or so within the next couple of weeks as people gradually list their quantities back onto the market. From there though, it does depend on whether or not the archetype actually ends up being good or meta relevant. Fortunately, if you just want the card, Boxia happens to be reprinted in King's Court as a rare, so it is super accessible, or if you want, you can still grab secret rares, which are also pretty nice for only a couple of dollars. Alright guys, that is it for today's Market Watch episode. Honestly, nothing that crazy, just a few smaller upward trends that I've noticed over the last couple of weeks. I do have some other things to take a look at soon. We'll take a look at some key cards from King's Court. We should be getting more reveals from Burst of Destiny over in the OCG, and we also have several reprint sets coming up here in the TCG, so a ton of things for you guys to keep an eye on, and many reasons for you to pay attention to the market. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's episode, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button for me and let me know. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards that we talked about today, or also let me know about other cards that are trending on the market so that I can potentially cover them in a future Market Watch episode and keep all of you guys as informed as possible. Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button for all of the latest and greatest content from both Tombox and myself. And until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.